All righty. Good morning. Today we're going to talk about developments in Africa, section 1.5. These are notes for the test, for the course. And let me, I'll hide myself so you don't have to, you can just hear me, but you don't have to see me. And then let me get rid of also the control panels. All right, got you. Okay, and then one more thing. Presentation, and here we go. So, developments in Africa. We're going to talk about how these states developed and why they developed and how things became what they became. All right. So, this part is just vocabulary. You need the vocabulary. All right. And so I'm not going to really go over it. I'm going to leave it up here like this. And now you can pause this video and basically copy it. And then again, vocabulary, you can pause right here and then copy this information. Vocabulary, you can pause right here and copy the information. So this is all this is for, just informational stuff. It's important. And I hope you get it all down in your notes, but this, I'm not going to go through each one. Come on, that would be silly. All right. Okay. Political structures of inland Africa. You got to remember that sub-Saharan Africa is the area we're talking about here. This is the area under the Sahara Desert. They're going to be based in kin-based networks, which essentially is large families built around chiefs. The families gained power. As they gained power and became more popular, more people want to be inside of them, right? Be part of that family. So they marry into the family, right? They become part of the family, and that expands the family's power. And then those kin networks are going to lead to chiefdoms, right? Where they pick a chief. The first of these areas of kin-based networks is called the Hasu Kingdom, right? And the Hasu Kingdom was actually technically seven different kingdoms, each their own city-state with one specialty. The textbook points out cotton was one thing that one of the kingdoms did very well. And so then they traded with each other. Soon these are gonna war with each other was something that they're going to do, and that's going to weaken each of them and give way to other things which are coming up. They benefited from the sub-Saharan trade route, the desert routes that were created by the people above them. All right, so the Hasu kingdoms are going to be influenced by Muslims, definitely. Okay, and they're going to make trade connections to those Muslim states. All right, so that leads us then to Western and Eastern Africa. So West Africa, right, is these areas here, right? East Africa, sorry, West Africa, these areas here. East Africa, these areas here. We're gonna start talking with areas that are along the western half, all right? Ghana, which is not where modern day Ghana is today. It's important to understand. Ghana is going to essentially be where the desert ends and the forest ends. There's going to be a small space. That's where Ghana is right today. They sold gold, ivory, right, and got salt, cloth, and tools. They modernized very quickly. They became a centralized government, right? They were able to defend themselves, set up trade systems, use the sub-Saharan trade system very well, and Ghana becomes the first real powerhouse of Africa. They are replaced by the Mali, who take their place. So Ghana is going to have their peak and then fall down. Mali is going to take their place. Also traded gold, was connected to the Muslims of North Africa. Mali leader was Sudan Ita, right, who led the Mali, converted to Muslimism, became a Muslim, right? So, sorry, converted to Islam and became a Muslim. So he then is going to have most of his people are going to start to turn to the Muslim faith, and that's going to make a connection between them and North Africa much stronger. Alrighty. So great wealth and gold. Mansa Musa makes his pilgrimage to Mecca. That's going to be a big deal, mostly because it's going to expose the fact that Africa has gold in it. And the people in the Middle East are going to see this gold because Mansa Musa is going to come in kind of a spectacular way to Mecca. And he is going to like put it on, and they're going to be like, wow, what an incredible thing. Where did you come from? And then it's going to be like, okay, we need to set up more trade with that area. All right. In East Africa, Zimbabwe. All right. Zimbabwe was a word that essentially means a stone dwelling. And the people who lived there built these stone dwellings. Soon Zimbabwe becomes a powerful nation because of their permanency and because of their ability to defend areas. Stone dwellings, they put up stone walls around their dwellings to defend themselves. All right. They are prosperous in agriculture, trading, grazing animals. However, gold is Zimbabwe's greatest export. They were able to establish trade in the Indian Ocean Trade Center, which is this area here, right? This is the Indian Ocean. Here is the trade area that they exist in, right? This area is has a huge amount of trade, not only with India, which is the Indian Ocean, but all of these countries right along here, all of these countries that would be actually all the way to here, right? Even China will make its way all the way over into the Indian Ocean and follow the trade routes and use the trade routes. So this is a huge region of trade. The people of Zimbabwe are able to use those trade routes to make themselves stronger, okay? They also create their own language called Swahili. That's a mixture of Bantu and Arabic, right? And their capital is called the Great Zimbabwe, which is one time is going to have at least 20,000 people until the capital gets too large and is basically using the resources around the area too much and is going to be abandoned. But it is a symbol of how strong Zimbabwe was, right? Last area we're going to talk about is Ethiopia. Christianity spread to Africa. So Ethiopia is right here, this country right here. Yes. And Africa is going to have some Christianity, especially up in this area. There's going to be some Christian groups that are able to settle and make a mark and be able to do all those kind of things. Ethiopia is probably the deepest into Africa that Christianity will reach. They're going to create 11 massive stone churches. It is rumored to house the Ark of the Covenant and the Holy Grail at different points in history. It becomes a Christian sanctuary inside of Africa, right? Social structure. Men are dominant in most activities, especially those with specialized skill. Women are left to raise children in agriculture. Important jobs, but they are seen as second class. Men are seen as much more important. Okay, slavery is really the key of sub-Saharan Africa. Sub-Saharan Africa had been establishing slavery for quite some time, especially East Africa. They had seen slavery done by other countries. They had been practicing it themselves. As you can see, prisoners of war, debtors, criminals were all often enslaved, but they were never lifetime slaves. It's not that you're a slave and then your son's a slave and then they're a slave and all of that. Sometimes in the Middle East that did happen, but Within Africa, we have seen mostly in the East Africa that people were put into slavery for a reason, and then they had to make up for that reason and get out of slavery, right? However, owning a large number of slaves did increase your social status. The Indian Ocean slave trade was very, very lucrative and made a lot of money for a lot of people. So it was something as seen as that everyone could do. Finally, the Zanjua Rebellion, which is a rebellion of slaves, okay, in the time period, is one of the most successful rebellions, the textbook will point out, but it also is one of the more deadly and destructive rebellions of all time. So just to let you know, there was people who were against slavery or trying to get rid of it, obviously mostly the slaves. Cultural life. The culture of the region was influenced by many different factors, right? Visual arts often serve as a religious purpose. A lot of their artifacts were made of metal. Things like iron and copper were used, some gold, to create statues and carvings. All literature was oral and passed down through generations. The men who passed it down were called griots, and the women were called griottes, right? I think I checked on that, but I think that's how it works, how it's pronounced. Essentially, these were the storytellers. Now, these people had great power because they were able to hold the stories of their history. They held the stories of everyone's history. So they knew the stories of their history, and they could often change those stories to fit what was going on in the world at the time. So that gave them an immense power over other people. They were also singers. They could sing, they could dance a little bit. So they had a lot of power because they were important. If they came to your ceremony and they sang a song that was of a positive nature, it meant that your society was going to do well. All of those things. Women, same thing, did not have as much power because they are women. And I know that's just the way it went, but they did have power over things like blessing births. They did have power over weddings, those kind of things. The ability to sing, again, became an important part of the cultural life of Africa.